82, I was 17, my old man was 55. If you do the math between the two of us, that's 72 years of life. An eternity, so it seemed to me, how could anything live that long? Now I say my folks were only 84 the year that they passed on. For a little while it seems you got time to choose your dreams. Pretty soon you look around and you see 100 years ain't what it used to be.
I am ready.
The Common Service Savings and Loan brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1522, April 11th, 2025. 83 degrees on this day was the record on two occasions, 1890 and 1968. And it was as chilly as 12 degrees on the morning of this day, in this day of the year 1940.
Okay.
Hello!
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
We have ice outs. Minnetonka went out on this day in 1892, 1948, 1958, and 1994. White Bear Lake went out on this day in 1935, 1948, 1953, and 1992.
Those are brought to us by our friends at ProfessionalTurf.com.
Nice.
We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. We're joined in studio by Jim Schultz. Jim is the president of the Minnesota Private Business Council, but also you've been a professor of constitutional law at the University of St. Thomas. But you ran against Keith Ellison last year.
Yep.
And lost, not by a wide margin.
No.
It's a shame you weren't victorious. We might not have some of the problems we have now. And yesterday you heard we had Bill Glahn from the Center of the American Experiment breaking down a 54-minute tape recorded in Keith Ellison's office when he was being courted by a number of people who turned out to be indicted in the food fraud scandal. It was very telling. You coincidentally have a piece in Alpha News. It strikes me that only Alpha News and Center of the American Experiment are covering this. Now, Channel 9 might have had something brief, and KARE 11 might have had something brief, but in your piece, you have the personal experience of confronting Ellison about this. Is that correct?
That's right.
On the campaign trail, walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2022, if you remember, this really kind of came to the fore, was kind of became very public in kind of mid-2022, where people learned about this massive fraud, FBI raids take place, and all that, and the Attorney General's office becomes under scrutiny for it. So
because they hadn't done anything.
They hadn't done anything. Keith Ellison had sat on his hands for many months. He used a variety of excuses around that. And he had done nothing on it, and then he had lied about his role in various different ways. He had said he was all over it. We knew back
2020. He said that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then that was an evident lie at the time because why do you send? Yeah, we knew in April of 2020 that this the Department of Education had raised red flags and so forth then. But they sent out hundreds of millions of dollars after that, before the the feds got involved. So there was no reason for that. So we knew that it was an evident lie at that time. But then, of course, this recording that you walked through yesterday,
which was a year
with Bill,
later.
Yep. This recording, he says, I'm learning about this for the first time a year later. So we've known he's been lying for a long time. In some ways, what's even more disturbing than the kind of cascade of lies around this for Keith is that this video demonstrates that he's not only been dishonest about it, but that he was going to bat for the fraudsters here. And there's people who are blowing the whistle in the Department of Education. They're trying, maybe a little clumsily, to get their arms around this. And
let's put that into context.
Yeah.
The people in his office in December of 21 are saying we're being undone by regulations and people poking around in our business, and Ellison agrees with them.
Yep.
And he said Walls agreed with him that this piddly stuff shouldn't have to happen, and I'll see what I can do.
Yep.
I think that's the context of it. And it may be, now correct me if I'm wrong, it may be that the people in the office by interference meant our scam is being interrupted here.
Right.
Is that a safe assumption?
I think you have to say that. I mean, they were in there trying to get Ellison to stop the Department of Education from making inquiries into their fraud.
Doesn't he represent the Department of Education?
He is supposed to represent the Department of Education. And so that's what's so odd about this. Instead of acting as the prosecutor that the Attorney General's office is supposed to be, he inserts himself as the defense attorney for the fraudsters. And so it's bizarre. I think it demonstrates the remarkable incompetence on his part, remarkably bad judgment. And then totally, I think you have to call it, there's the only thing you can call it is totally corrupt. The people that he knows are under inquiry from the Department of Education, he accepts $10,000 in campaign contributions. His son accepts $10,000 in campaign contributions from him. That is deeply, deeply corrupt, just absolutely outrageous.
I think he would insist he returned the money.
I don't know if maybe, so at the time he certainly accepted it.
Right.
Maybe after the FBI raid 6 months later, maybe they returned it. I'm not actually sure if they did or not. But yeah.
I want you to hear something. We're making every effort to reach Keith Ellison. I think it's important for Keith. He should appear on this show. He presumably won't. So what we did is we used some people who his office might respond to far better than they would to me. Sure. Because if I just called them cold, I don't think they'd give me the time of day. And I want you to hear. Now, what am I going to hear here?
So I was given the contact information.
But we have a friend who's in the know, and that fellow is held in higher regard than I am with these people. So we called him and said, who can we contact?
That's great.
So I contacted a gentleman by the name of John Stiles. He is the Deputy Chief of Staff for Attorney General Ellison, and I gave him a call, and I was informed he will hate, by our friend, he will hate getting contacted by you. He is married to Javier Murillo, who is the godfather of Peggy Flanagan's daughter, who Ellison just endorsed for the U.S. Senate. It's beyond crazy.
It's just a great big family picnic, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right.
Like
That's
a potluck.
It's just amazing.
That's right.
It's just amazing. And I want to, before you resume, I want to.
By the way, I'll hold my breath while I await that return phone call.
The invitation to Ellison stands. You're more than welcome, Keith, to come on the show.
Who also told me at the airport he'd love to come on the show in person.
Well, and how many times did Walls tell you that?
4.
All right. What's important here, Jim, is that what we're seeing, I think, unfold is that this might, if not corrupt, this might be the most incompetent and poorly run state government in the history of the state. I'm firmly convinced that Walls is the worst governor in the history of the state. I don't know where to place Ellison in the ranks of Attorney General, but he's not holding up well under the scrutiny of this investigation. And let's resume where you are. The lies are obvious.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. The lies. The fact that he says he was all over it. We know documentarily now that he was not, in fact, all over it. He said in 2022 a series of things that we knew to be untrue. For example, he said, well, they had to keep sending out the money because a federal judge told them to do so.
Wrong.
Totally rebuked by the federal judge on that. He said, well, the FBI made us continue sending out the money.
That's wrong.
Also wrong. The FBI doesn't tell people to send $200 million out to thieves. And then the other piece of it that he lied about is that he couldn't really tell the full truth about it because it was attorney-client privilege, which is, again, totally false. And so we have an attorney general that has, in order to save his political skin, we've been saying this. I said this in my campaign and otherwise. He's been consistently lying to the people about Minnesota to cover up his incompetence, maybe cover up corruption here. And then we have an attorney general who now, by virtue of this recording, we know went to bat for the fraudsters with the Department of Education, which is just truly remarkable.
By pretending he didn't know they were fraudsters, even though he claims a year prior to that, he was very aware of it.
Yes, that's right.
That's
right.
the part that doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. And what I think is just this is representative of is the amount of graft, the amount of fraud in our state government. Bill Glenn has a great tracker and over $600 million of stolen funds here. So this is just, it's a big chunk of it. But we have a Minnesota state government, to your point, Mayor, that is deeply dysfunctional, that we're sending out money to fraudsters continually. There aren't systems in place. There aren't people in place that insist that public funds be used for appropriate dollars, that Minnesota's taxpayers are protected, and this is going to continue. And I think every month, sometimes every couple of weeks, we've got a new Medicaid fraud, a new Medicare fraud,
child care fraud, autism fraud.
Absolutely, and we have an Attorney General's office who is.
They haven't done
totally
a damn thing about any of this.
Absolutely, and in this case, went to bat for the fraudsters. Just absolutely unbelievable.
I still can't get to a position where I believe that Walz and Ellison are stuffing their pockets. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with me?
I think that's unlikely. Yeah. I think it's campaign contributions. I think it's not wanting to ruffle feathers. I think Keith Ellison ultimately is a guy who is just very bad at his job. Mm-hmm. He's not equipped to do the job. He's a criminal defense attorney by background. He represented drug lords in Minneapolis in his prior life, and he has that disposition to be the defense attorney rather than the prosecutor he's obligated to be under our state constitution.
If you had to attempt to nail it down, what do you think is Walz's disposition? He's not a lawyer,
right?
So that wouldn't come into it. He hasn't really done anything.
He's a knucklehead.
He was a social studies teacher.
Yeah.
What do you I think I have a guess at what his disposition is, but I'm wondering what yours is.
I think Walz. Walz, I think, is kind of a political animal who likes very much, being, he's grown to, very much like being the governor and, like being running the state and everything that goes along with it. He's somebody who I think long ago, set aside kind of the real focus on just the average person that you're supposed to serve.
Yep.
You're supposed to serve. It just becomes more about kind of the pomp and circumstance of the office rather than
that. And I think he does not mind the disruption of wealth. I don't think he cares about the achievements of people in Minnesota, financially, materially. I think he sees himself having a grander vision for the human race, that capitalism of itself might be wrong for him. There's been clues. His wife saying back in the George Floyd weekend, she left the window open to smell the burning tires, and how that pleased her. And what that seems to mean to me is that they think they're on the side of the downtrodden. I don't think they are, because they certainly haven't helped anybody.
Yeah.
But by being on the side of the downtrodden, it stands to reason then that they're opposed to people who do provide the money that runs this state.
Yeah, I think they're totally dismissive of the private sector. They think that. I think there's a mentality that people just kind of, happened upon wealth or happened upon success and things like that. And it should be extracted from them. I don't think they really care. I don't think they have any sense of how wealth is created, how the economy works and so forth. And so they end up, driving businesses into the ground out of state. They end up, doing things that are really harmful to workers, because the workers don't have the jobs that they're entitled to.
An irony was pointed out yesterday with Bill here, and that was these people meeting with Ellison were complaining about the intrusions of regulations, and we can't get our money in time, and then Ellison agrees and says, Walls agrees with me. These are piddly things. I'm going to see if I can take care of it. This was exactly at the same time Walls was closing businesses because of COVID.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Legitimate businesses were being shut down by government decree under Walls' executive authority, while at the same time his attorney general is courting people who are begging him to make it easier to have their businesses open.
Absolutely. I mean, the attorney general's office was so aggressive in closing down businesses through COVID, even ones who could safely operate and otherwise. And in this conversation with known fraudsters, this is the first instance I can think of where Keith Ellison has found any regulation that he dislikes. I mean, and suddenly he sounds like a free market guy that wants to get the government out of small businesses way and so forth. So that is a remarkable irony pointed out by Bill there. It's at the end of the day, Keith Ellison, you've got him as being somebody who's deeply dishonest. We saw that in spades and the Feeding Our Future thing. You got somebody who's deeply incompetent, and you see that here. And then you got somebody who is politically extreme. I mean, he's a hard leftist. He always has been since his time in the state legislature to Congress and otherwise. The guy who tried to be the deputy at the DNC. I mean, he's a militant hard leftist. So you've got those three things, and it makes for probably the worst attorney general in our state's history.
Well, and then he can work in concert with a governor who is not about to attempt to demand anything of him.
Yep.
Why wasn't Walls riding Ellison hard and saying, why aren't you investigating all these frauds? We got terrible frauds here. Instead, what we get is the convenient departure of Heather Mueller from the Department of Education, about which I know nothing. She just left. Then Jody Harpstead left the Department of Human Services, about which I know nothing. Both of them I've never accused of stealing any money. But why are they gone? What happened there?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. Do you?
I don't. And why hasn't anybody been fired? I mean,
nobody's been held responsible. 100%. There's been no consequences.
100%.
When we come back, we're talking with Jim Schultz, who ran for Attorney General against Ellison and unfortunately was defeated by a narrow margin. Are you going to run again, I hope?
So my wife Molly and I, we just had our fourth, actually, a little guy. Yeah, thanks.
So you finally got one. You finally got a son.
I got a son. That's right. Yeah, 3 girls, 9, 6, and 3, and the little baby boy here. So we're very seriously considering running for Attorney General again in 2026.
All right.
We're thinking about it and praying about it. A lot of people have reached out to encourage us. As you know, we got more votes in 2022 than any state candidate in Minnesota's history. Highest percentage of the vote, 49.6% of any Republican since '94. So we're very proud of the race we ran, and a lot of people encouraging us to run again.
Don't you think this would Ellison's actions right now may only increase favorability to you?
Well, I mean, we want to talk about that.
Yeah, we told that story, and we can happy to do it on the other side of the break too. In 2022, we told a lot of this story, and it's just so. It certainly makes me want to run more because our government is so dysfunctional. We haven't even touched the violent crime stuff, the various other different elements. But Minnesota so desperately needs an attorney general who can do the job, who has the right priorities, and is willing to fight for the average Minnesotan.
Now, Jim is not with the Center of the American Experiment, but he's also appreciative of the work they do, as are we. And they want you right now to go to a website they've created to talk about the curriculum that's going to be voted on for schools. And it's called radicalrepeal.com. You can find that at the Center of the American Experiment, radicalrepeal.com. There's a bill in an attempt to prevent what's taking place for social studies teaching in Minnesota, but if the Walls team has its way, third graders will be studying solidarity movements with the teacher asking things like, how do institutions like schools oppress groups of people based on race, which is something everybody's going to learn how to handle in their lifetime, but I'm not so sure you start drilling that home at first, second, and third grade. It's the Center of the American Experiment. They do wonderful work, and you can find them at the americanexperiment.org.
truck. Ready?
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
We're speaking with Jim Schultz regarding the behavior of Keith Ellison. Who can bring charges against the Attorney General, or at least start an examination?
Yeah, for state crime, it would be in this case probably the Ramsey County Attorney, with him sitting in state.
John Choi doesn't strike me as someone eager to do that.
I don't expect that he would be eager to do that. I don't know that there would be federal all the work on Feeding Our Future and otherwise has been done by federal prosecutors, as you know, the U.S. Attorney Danny Lugar and his deputy Joe Thompson, who have prosecuted those aggressively. I don't know that any federal potential federal charges or federal statutes are implicated here, but I think the case has to be prosecuted at the ballot box here. And Keith Ellison, who I think will likely run for re-election, needs to be held accountable here.
Will he skate through this?
We can't, whoever runs against Keith Ellison in 2026 is going to have to ensure that he can't, that he's held accountable here. I mean, this is, sometimes you get caught up in the dollars and cents, that $250 million and so forth. But
I think that's worth getting caught up in.
Yeah, well, that's true. No, that's true.
Yeah.
Well taken. What I'm just saying is that, this is real money that was meant for needy kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so disturbing that you've got an attorney general totally as demonstrating such incompetence here that money ultimately didn't go to the right spot.
The elephant in the room was the claims of the number of children being fed. Didn't Ellison pick up on that?
Absolutely. I mean, you had these sites that were claiming thousands of kids. These small sites.
TV would have been on that every night.
My favorite is Pelican Rapids.
Yes. Yeah.
7 million people.
Something like that.
Yeah. You could subpoena the bank records. There's so much you could have done here that would have taken a half hour of investigative work on the part of the Attorney General's office.
Wow.
And Keith didn't do it.
What do we have a clip of?
Jim, go ahead and set it up.
Yeah, so this I think this is a clip from our 2022 NPR debate between Keith and I, where I walk through the many lies that Keith Ellison has told about Feeding Our Future.
October 14th of 2022.
Yes. Yep.
A little bit of extra time on this one, if that's okay. So in May of 2020, it became pretty evident to the Department of Education and others that there was serious fraud going on in Feeding Our Future. From that time until the end, there was over $200 million went out the door, almost 250, almost the entirety of that amount went out thereafter. The Attorney General's office in Minnesota represented the Department of Education through that. During that, the feds were not involved at that time. The FBI was not involved. The U.S. Attorney office was not involved. They were informed in April 2021. So there's no kind of concerns about dealing with it, about getting in the way of their investigation through that time. Instead of advising the Department of Education to halt payments, instead of ensuring that they did an investigation in which it would have been pretty straightforward. It would not have taken Sherlock Holmes to crack this case. What you do is you subpoena the bank records associated with the accounts. And you see that those amounts are going to individuals who are going to buy properties worth a couple $1 million, or going to buy $90,000 trucks and so forth. This was not a significant case to handle. And unfortunately, the Attorney General's office, for some reason, maybe it was the campaign contributions, Keith, that you received from people associated with Feeding Our Future. Maybe it was something else, but you didn't pursue it. And then now, you've been lying about it consistently, Keith. First, it was the judge who made you do it. Who made you send out $200 million to people everyone knew was fraudulent. Then, it was the FBI who made you do it. I will tell you, the FBI does not tell victims of theft to send out $200 million to people you know to be thieves. So that's a lie. And then, Keith, you said to Vanina Soccer on the radio, you said you can't tell the truth about it because of attorney-client privilege. Again, a complete and total lie. Finally, you said you have no authority over it. That is, again, a complete and total lie. 602, 902, you could have brought a case under RICO to aggressively prosecute them, and you didn't. Keith, this is representative of the level of incompetence in your office and the level of dishonesty that you bring to the office.
Do we have Keith's response? What was his response?
I don't know.
Just babbling?
It was again, he kind of always would go back to this notion that he didn't want to get in the way of the federal investigation, which was always...
It's all BS.
It's always BS. The federal investigation didn't start until 9 months later, after his office was supposed to be representing the Department of Education. and they have independent authority. They don't have to simply defer to the federal government.
Why is this story having so much trouble getting purchase with the public? It's Alpha, and it's
Center, and it's us.
And us. What, don't people care in this state?
I think a lot of people. I think people do care, and I think I think there's increasing frustration about the kind of dysfunction in Minnesota government. Minnesota's, as we all know here, has been a kind of light blue state, but it's been run. Its government's been historically run effectively, and been known as being effective.
It used to be a hell of a state.
Yeah. The state that works, all that thing. Yeah. And these past years, particularly during the Walz administration and Keith Ellison leadership or lack thereof, it's become totally dysfunctional. And so I think people are increasingly fed up. The media, that does have an obligation here to step in and tell this story. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't hearing the story because it is only the Alpha News and a couple others who are covering it at the moment. I'm hopeful that some people out there are just putting things together, are getting comment from the AG's office, and then we'll see that here in the coming days. But this story has to be told by the kind of legacy media in the state.
You would think so, to expose it to more people.
Well, we were informed yesterday, right, that there are several outlets that have the same tape that Bill Glahn has, and some of those outlets have just decided not to run the story.
That is remarkable to me.
It isn't to me. The Star-Tribune is behaving poorly when it comes to Walz. Steve Grove's the publisher. He was Walz's director of economic development. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that Grove has specifically told the employees of the Star-Tribune to tread lightly on Walz. I don't know that at all, but there certainly seems to be no urgency in behaving like a real newspaper.
It's funny because like you guys, I've got a lot of skepticism of a lot of folks in legacy media, but there are a number of good folks who are out there. And I have to believe there's even a couple very good political reporters at the Strib. I have to believe they're kicking the tires on this and want to get the full set of facts and so forth, and that we'll see something in the coming days. Maybe I'm being naive there, but this is a massive story.
Major story,
and you can do the typical thing, right? If this was a Republican Attorney General and the things that this would be wall-to-wall coverage. Yeah, exactly. I mean. Yeah. But
well, what did Bill say? He said something about that. Was that on the air or off? That if this was a Republican Attorney General, he wouldn't have made it to lunch.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think he shared that with us, didn't he?
And in the days when newspapers were healthy, and they're not now, they're not healthy at all. In the days when they were healthy, this would have been getting rapid attention.
Yeah.
There's just no staff anymore.
Yeah, and it's there's no staff. It's disturbing that this hasn't gotten more purchase. Just legacy media more broadly, and maybe I shouldn't be as surprised as I am, but this is a historic case in our state's history. 200 we said it again, but this is the biggest fraud in Minnesota's history, and the Attorney General basically going back to bat for the fraudsters.
Have you been through the Safari restaurant?
I have not. Actually.
Well, then you have no shot. Because
the only way to succeed.
Because the only way to get, according to Saeed Mohammed, the only way to get ahead in Minnesota politics is you got to go through the Safari.
Apparently.
So you better get your ass over there and go through the Safari restaurant.
That's lesson one. Lesson one is go to the Safari. Lesson two, Jim, is if you do become the Attorney General, just make sure when you're assisting fraudsters, don't have anybody recording on a cell phone.
Boy, yes.
You got to go Derek Jeter on it. Everybody put your cell phone in a basket.
That's right. And if you run again, do not come back to Garage Logic.
Right, we're done having you on.
We'll take you in up until the election, and you better deny now. Until you got who was the guy, the apostle who denied
Thomas?
You be the doubting Thomas.
I will come in anytime you guys invite me.
I do have to ask you this though, because we routinely joke about, well, he'll still get reelected. I mean, is there hope? Is there really hope that people are actually starting to pay attention?
There is. There's with recent election results and otherwise, there's a lot of depression on anybody who's not on board with the total lunacy of our state government right now. But there is absolutely hope for Minnesota. We're getting hard left policy, totally dysfunctional government, kind of California style, Illinois style. But we are a narrowly politically divided state. we're roughly, we're light blue. The last election cycle was basically, if you take the aggregate vote, it was basically 49.5% on each side. In the legislature, we are a narrowly politically divided state. There's evidence that people are more and more fed up with far left governance. Unfortunately, Republicans in the state have taken every opportunity to miss an opportunity often. Folks on my side of the aisle have to make sure that we're putting forward great candidates, people who can speak to the issues that Minnesotans care about, and run really disciplined, smart, hard-hitting campaigns. Because Minnesotans deserve that. They deserve an alternative to the lunacy we currently have.
It's truly remarkable that we've seen it come to this, and I hope Keith responds and comes in here, but I really doubt that'll happen. So what is your next step regarding this case? It's not a case yet. We're trying to make it a case. What is your next step regarding this development?
So published the Alpha News piece here. I'm going to continue being out there in the media and otherwise, telling this story because it deserves to be told. Keith Ellison's dishonesty deserves to be told, and then we're Molly and I are gonna continue to think and pray hard about running in 26 because we just have to have change in that office. We have to have a government where taxpayer dollars are protected, a government where the average Minnesotan is stood up for, not these politically connected political donors that are fraudsters.
I don't feel represented by him.
Yeah, and I think it's a. Last time, he narrowly won. It was the closest attorney general's race in Minnesota history. At some point, the kind of bat signal went out nationally. Barack Obama came in and did an ad for him. Immense resources were poured into the race to protect him. I think this, I think there's people are so frustrated, and this is one more reason for them to be frustrated about his leadership of the state. That and I think so many people like you, Joe, do not feel represented by him in the office.
Jim Schultz, appreciate it. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you, Mayor. It's great to be on with you.
Until the election.
Once you announce your candidacy.
Can I just tell one story before I go? It's always a thrill for me.
Stories.
All right. It's always a thrill for me to come in because when I was growing up, I've kind of just mentioned this in passing to you before, Mayor, but growing up, my dad was kind of an amateur mechanic. We grew up out in central Minnesota, and he would always have me in the garage working on one of our 20-year-old cars. Our cars were always breaking in one way or another, and so he always had me down there working in it. But he always had Garage Logic on the radio, and so it is I've listened to Joe Schultz for much of my life, so it's always a thrill to come in here.
Why don't you try to make me feel older?
Yeah.
What did your dad think of me?
That's right. That's right.
My God.
He loved all you guys. That's right.
He didn't think of you.
That's right. Yeah. He loved all of you guys. Absolutely. 100%.
Did he ever mention me? Ever talk about
me? That's right.
Who's the dumb guy?
If he was still with us, he would come in here. I could introduce you, but
that'd be great.
He's on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, good luck.
Thank you.
We'll stay in touch with each new development you can come up with. I assume your outlet is either going to be Alpha or Center, and we'll be reading it.
We'll keep working it. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for having me on here today.
All right, thank you.
I was 17, my old man was 55. If you do the math between the two of us, that's 72 years of life. An eternity, so it seemed to me. How could anything live that long? Now I would say my folks were only 84 the year that they passed on. For a little while it seems you got time to choose your dreams. Pretty soon you look around and you see 100 years ain't what it used to be. And my grandpa Roy, when he was a boy in 1904, he was taught by men who fought in the actual Civil War. And only 8 decades passed and my high school class put the tassels on the other side. Started on our way full of naivete on the great American ride. The months and years slide past, each more quickly than the last. Pretty soon you look around and you'll see 100 years ain't what it used to be. Oh, got it!
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Jenny, hey! Oh, yeah!
Did the guitar face.
Ibuprofen's under by again in my online shopping cart. Every week I learn of something else I should be doing for my heart. If I use the wrong pillow, I might have trouble getting out of bed. My hair grows in my ears and nose now more than on my head. As a kid, to me, ancient history was something like World War I. But I arrived close to that time than this year as I sing this song. And I'm starting to find I can wrap my mind around life is brief and dear. I can hardly believe my baby girl's turned 26 this year. Oh, a little while it seems you got time to choose your dreams. Pretty soon you look around and you'll see everybody. 100 years ain't what it used to be. Before you know it, you're 63, making plans for Medicare A and B. You look around yourself and you see 100 years ain't what it used to be.
Shut up.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
I got something that'll make you blurt. Look at that screen. Masters Maples and mastersmaples.com.
Hey, is there, today is there a GLer of the week?
Sure is, Joe. Oh, that's right, because Masters Maples is a proud supporter of the GLer of the week. I was like, where the hell did that come from?
Were you like that?
I was something similar to that. It's like, I'm going to do the rest of this live read like this. Josh sent me a great email. Hey, Reeves, I just wanted to give a quick plug for Masters Maples seasonings. We hear a lot about their syrups, but the seasonings need some love as well. I tried their savory blend on burgers, and the Sweet Blend on Ribs. Josh, I'm coming to your house. Both received rave reviews from the family. They've earned a spot in my grilling rotation. I got to tell you, the savory seasoning is really, really good on burgers. Anyway, go to their website, mastersmaples.com, and you can see their full line of products and have a healthier 2025. Incorporate 100% pure maple syrup and the best that Minnesota has to offer. It's the traditional pure maple syrup, the bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup. They also have pure maple sugar and also, like I mentioned, those sweet and savory seasonings and rubs. Order yours today online at mastersmaples.com. That's mastersmaples.com. Taste the difference, Joe Souchere.
This just came in from the House GOP one day after a leaked audio tape of a private meeting, which you heard on this show yesterday, showed Attorney General Keith Ellison colluding with figures later indicted in the Feeding Our Future fraud. House Democrats blocked a Republican effort to bring House File 20 back for a vote on the House floor. House File 20 would require the Attorney General's office to release certain investigative records after a case is closed. Under current law, those records can remain permanently secret. The timing is no coincidence. In the newly surfaced recording, Ellison is heard assuring individuals tied to the $250 million scandal that he stands with them and wants to help. These individuals would later be charged with defrauding taxpayers in the largest scam in state history. Well, it was the largest COVID scam of its kind in the country. But not before they maxed out campaign donations to Keith Ellison's campaign account, as well as the campaign account of his son, Minneapolis City Councilman Jeremiah Ellison. Today, this is dated yesterday, and I just received it. This is dated yesterday. No, what's the date today? The 11th?
Yes, sir.
This is yesterday. Today, House Republicans moved to take House File 20 off the table and force a vote. Every DFL member voted to keep the bill buried, and DFL leader Jamie Long even erupted leader Niska multiple times to ensure he couldn't adequately discuss the issue publicly. The DFL's decision protects the Attorney General at the exact moment serious questions are being raised about his conduct. Minnesotans still don't know why Ellison's office met with Feeding Our Future fraudsters while they were under investigation. Under current law, they may never find out. Republicans will continue to fight for transparency. Democrats have made it clear that they won't. I just wanted to get that to conclude our visit with Jim Schultz. Here's John Haidt.
Thanks, Joe. This news brought to you by North American Banking Company. Well, Jim Mazon, I was looking up results of that election.
Yeah.
There was 2.5 million votes cast. He lost by less than 21,000 votes.
Wow.
It's a shame. It's just a shame he lost.
Yeah, and you would think and hope be able to make up that number given everything that's gone on, although it is Minnesota.
It's Minnesota. You're right. We have no confidence that people will wake up to what's happening to us.
Yeah. Well, I hope he runs.
I do too.
Despite the fact, that GLers call me comrade and commie, I did vote. I did vote for Jim last time around, and I would vote for him in a minute.
Of course.
Again. So there you go.
I love that they call you comrade and commie. That reminds me of Nick Coleman with Jesse. Yeah. Nikolai Kolmanoff is what he called him.
It's a pretty good name for him.
It's pretty good.
I always found, and since you gave me the opening, Rook, to talk about this, I always find it ironic that most of those people back, a fella who happens to be great friends with Vladimir Putin and bend over backwards to please him. Okay, let's move along now. News. Senate Republicans announcing today they filed a formal ethics complaint against Senate President Bobby Joe Champion, a DFLer from Minneapolis. That complaint cites concerns about conflicts of interest and violations of ethical conduct standards in his role as a legislator and practicing attorney after Champion authored bills in 2023 and 2025 to get taxpayer funding for 21 Days of Peace, an initiative led by his former client, the Reverend Jerry McAfee. Senator Michael Kroon, a Republican from Blaine, said this is a clear and deeply troubling case of a public official using their legislative position to potentially benefit their private legal clients. On Thursday, Champion shared new details regarding the request he made to have a Senate Ethics Committee review his outside work as a private attorney after a report in the Minnesota Reformer raised questions of a possible conflict of interest. Our friends at 5 Eyewitness News asked Champion for an interview, but instead received a statement from Champion that said, "I understand that questions have been raised about a potential conflict of interest regarding my work as a senator and a private practice attorney. Out of an abundance of caution, I have asked the State Ethics Committee for an advisory opinion." Authorities say a Minnesota state trooper was involved in a 3-vehicle crash that seriously injured a child Wednesday night in Sherburne County. The Sherburne County Sheriff's Office said the crash happened just after 9 in the evening on U.S. Highway 10 near 70th Avenue in Clear Lake Township, a few miles southeast of St. Cloud. The state trooper was responding to a report of a wrong-way driver on Highway 10 when that driver hit another vehicle. The state patrol squad then hit one or both vehicles involved in the crash. 5 people taken to hospitals for treatment after the crash, including a juvenile who suffered life-threatening injuries, according to the sheriff's office. The other 4 people were expected to be okay. The Sherburne County Sheriff's Office is leading the investigation. In a statement, State Patrol Colonel Christina Bogojevich, I have that wrong, but it's close enough, said the agency is deeply saddened by the tragic events that occurred last night. Meanwhile, from the Star Tribune, another accident involving a squad car. A central Minnesota sheriff's office made a U-turn on a road and took out a motorcyclist coming up behind him, according to officials. That happened Thursday south of Brainerd at about 7:15 in the evening on County Road 45. The motorcyclist, 18-year-old Dakota Beener of Brainerd, was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital for treatment of non-critical injuries. He was wearing a helmet at the time of the crash. The deputy, 25-year-old Aiden Bartels of Baxter, was not hurt. Bartels was heading south in a sheriff's office SUV, made a U-turn near Cook Road, a statement from the patrol read. Motorcycle was also southbound and T-boned the SUV while it was making the U-turn.
That's the copper's fault.
Well, I was going to ask, do they have to have their lights on when they do that maneuver?
I don't know.
Because this nearly happened to me on the latest Dum Dum run. I was driving through New Mexico and a trooper did a U-turn without his lights on. I'm like, gee, and I nearly hit him.
Huh. We have been reading about you.
Yeah. That'd have been great.
The sheriff's office
Now
posted.
we would have forgotten all about it.
Yeah. Where's Reavers today?
Well, he had a U-bone.
He's going to be okay.
U-turn deal.
That's a different deal.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office posted on Facebook an account of the crash and included a photo showing modest damage to the squad and the motorcycle lying on its side in the middle of the 2-lane road. From the Pioneer Press, one of these stories. Honora Rodriguez was going about her day at the Kaposia Library, South St. Paul, where she's the branch manager, when a man came in to return an overdue record album that was 50 years late.
Wow.
That's not a story.
It's a long story, so
No,
just relax.
John,
Buckle up.
John, you're going to edit that baby right down.
As an 8th grader in 1976, Zeph Miller checked out Cat Stevens' greatest hits record from the now closed South St. Paul
That was
Library.
his first problem.
On Monday, he brought the same record to Kaposia Library, wanting to return it to its rightful owners and see how much he owed in overdue fees, according to Rodriguez. Miller said he actually told the Pioneer Press yesterday, "I went to check out the new library with my grandchildren, and I had to open a new library card." That got him to thinking about the last time he used one. He said he went to the old library many times and checked out a lot of albums because he couldn't afford to buy them. He said, "This one got lost in my other albums. I guess it wasn't something I cherished at the time." He said he never intended to keep it past its due date. Rodriguez said the record was checked out 3 years before she was born. She's worked as a librarian since 2007.
Okay,
That's fun.
we got to cut to the chase here.
Did it have
what was the
What do you
amount of
wanna
money
know?
due?
What do you want to know?
What was the amount of money due?
Well, Joe, oddly enough, we no longer collect overdue fees from
Well,
the
I know
state.
in St. Paul we don't because Melvin thought that was a big deal. But in South St. Paul, they don't collect overdue fees either?
Unbeknownst to Miller, the Dakota County Library System terminated its late fees as of January 2nd, 2024.
I'll be damned.
Wow.
Now, hypothetically, if this same rule, and by the way, I know you don't have a building, you don't know the reporters, but if you did, would you please tell this reporter to stop calling record albums vinyls? I hate that.
All right.
Because she did it constantly in the
We don't
story.
have a building.
Hypothetically, it would have set Miller back about $5,250.
Wow, it's a good thing they waived that, huh?
Wait a minute. Why are you outraged about the reference of vinyls? What if
Because
it
it
is?
sounds stupid as hell.
But is it an actual vinyl?
You know what, Chris? It's like calling a pizza a pie. Okay, there, take that.
Noted.
By the way, late fees no longer
John, you
accumulate.
have to move on from this story.
I like this story.
Way too much.
I skipped like 6
I'm
paragraphs.
good. Thank God.
One last question. Do we know if the due date was stamped with that stamp that you always had to change
I'm
the date
sure
on?
it was.
No,
yes.
wait a minute.
It was crooked.
Yes.
I call bogus on your remarks, Mr. Mayor.
What'd I do?
I'm approaching the bench. Your
Yeah,
Honor.
go ahead.
Approaching
You are always on the case of reporters that don't give us enough information. Now, here's a detailed story in which we have too much information.
Joe doesn't care about this story, so.
Well, give me something like this about Keith Ellison. I
Oh,
don't give a
okay.
bleep about a record album.
Overdue vinyl?
Yeah.
Not vinyl. It's not a vinyl, Chris. Stop it. Did that on purpose.
Who was the
didn't you?
reporter?
I don't remember. Is that pretty helpful?
What was on the B side?
It was an album.
It was an album.
Move
Vinyl?
on, John.
Was
Move
it
on
vinyl?
before I
This
leave.
is greatest hits. It had all his hits on it.
Father
Yeah.
and Son? Or no,
Now,
Matthew
that was
and
never
Son?
a single. It was more like Wild World. And
John,
Morning
please.
is Broken. And
On that, wait, no.
You're
on
turning
that
into
album,
Rookie.
One of the best lines ever. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen.
I wish you'd take heed of that. Yeah.
I have the reporter's name. It is Mars King.
yes,
I
it was
don't-
Mars.
I don't know
Yes.
Mars.
The planet.
Is that a St. Paul Pioneer Press?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know Mars.
For $1 million.
Who
Well,
is
Mars might be brand new. I don't know.
Gotcha.
What's up, Mars?
And you can't really gather around the water cooler.
Right.
Okay,
Next-
How about that
fellas.
game, Mars?
Next door to us in North Dakota, workers so far have recovered thousands of gallons of crude oil from that underground pipeline spill on North Dakota farmland, according to the owner of the line. Remains unclear, though, when they'll be able to start oil running through it anymore, and they're still not sure what the cause was. They're still investigating the cause of the spill along the Keystone Pipeline near Fort Ransom, North Dakota, about 60 miles southwest of Fargo. The whole thing released about 147,000 gallons of oil onto farmland, and so far 700 barrels or 29,400 gallons have been recovered. More than 200 workers are on site as part of the cleanup and investigation. The company, South Bow, has not set a timeline for restarting the pipeline, which stretches from Alberta, Canada, to refineries in Illinois, Oklahoma, and Texas. The company said it will only resume service with regulator approval. Chris, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to continue? I
Yeah,
don't
well, you can
recall
just
what
keep
we
going for
said.
another couple of minutes before you're going to throw it to Matthew.
Gotcha. Yes. In international stuff, China announcing it will raise tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 125%, the latest salvo in that escalating trade war between the world's two largest economies. Well, U.S. President Trump paused import taxes this week for other countries. He raised tariffs on China, and they now total 145%. China has denounced the whole thing as, quote, economic bullying and promised countermeasures. The new tariffs all begin on Saturday. The Dow, by the way, as of right now is up. The Dow up 737, the NASDAQ up 333, and the S&P up 104.
John, did you
points
use the
on
phrase
day.
economic bullying or bullying?
Bullying? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Perhaps
Okay.
I was not clear.
I know. I
Bullying.
didn't hear what you had said.
Gotcha. Lost my place. Where am I? Popular outdoor equipment retailer REI has issued a public apology for its previous endorsement of Doug Burgum, the man Donald Trump tapped to lead the Interior Department. Late last year, environmental groups warned against supporting the then governor of North Dakota for Interior Secretary, arguing the former businessman would sacrifice federal lands in the name of increasing profits. But REI, which presents itself as a pro-environmental company, defied the groups in January and signed on to a letter supporting Burgum's nomination. Well, since becoming secretary, Burgum has controversially proposed using federal lands for affordable housing and affirmed environmental groups' fears by doubling down on Trump's attempt to restore the coal industry. And now REI, via its new president, Mary Beth Lawton, says it's regretting their endorsement. Lawton also pointed to the gutting of national park staff in issuing the apology. In a video message posted on social media, Lawton said REI's signing of the letter was a mistake and that our public lands are under attack. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and 2 other Democratic leaders have been called to appear before a U.S. House committee to testify about their state's sanctuary policies for undocumented immigrants. Republican Kentucky Representative James Comer, chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, issued a call on social media to Walz, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and New York Governor Kathy Hochul on Thursday. Comer wants the governors to testify on May 15th. Walz has not yet publicly responded to Comer. Pritzker's office called the summons another partisan dog and pony show. New York City sightseeing helicopter broke apart in midair Thursday and crashed upside down into the Hudson River, killing the pilot and a family of 5 Spanish tourists. The victims included Siemens executive Agustin Escobar, his wife, who's a global manager at an energy technology company, and 3 children, in addition to the pilot. Photos posted on the helicopter company's website had shown the couple and their kids smiling as they boarded the flight just before it took off. The flight departed a downtown heliport around 3 p.m. and lasted less than 18 minutes. Radar data showed it flew north along the Manhattan skyline, then back south toward the Statue of Liberty. Videos captured of the crash showed parts of the aircraft tumbling through the air into the water near the shoreline of Jersey City. A witness there, Bruce Wall, said he saw the helicopter falling apart in midair with the tail and main rotor coming off. The main rotor was still spinning without the helicopter as it fell into the water.
I want to believe that the pilot tried to get over water, knowing that the helicopter was breaking apart.
Did you see the flight path?
Yeah, because then he killed fewer people.
Yeah.
But, not the hour. You could be in a club in the Dominican, or and the roof falls in on you, or you could get all the kids in the helicopter. Let's take a picture, and then you're gone. It's just
the toughest.
You never know.
The toughest photo or video was the kids flip flop in the water. That was a little tough to see.
I didn't see that part.
It sounds to me like that helicopter might have been rode hard and put away wet. The piece of crap fell apart in the air.
Yeah, the propeller.
What we call the rotor.
Whatever.
That came off the damn machine.
Isn't that a propeller?
It's not a propeller. It's a rotor blade.
Got it.
John, thank you.
My propeller on the car.
Aunt Peggy's car.
Yeah.
The propeller came off.
Is Rook up now?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk to
Thanks,
you about
John.
that.
Well, John's not done, is he?
No.
Yeah, we got to call the big man.
Oh, all right.
We do. And if you want to call the big man, you got to call him. That is Innovative Garage Flooring. Having your floors done in your garage will be a game changer. Of course, if everybody gathers in your garage, you will be the envy on the block. I had my garage floors redone. Not only do they look great, they feel great. You don't want to sleep on the floor. And the people in it, because we did that. We did that in our house. We did it. Yes, we did. Nice. We slept on the floor once it dried, and it was beautiful. It's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, warranty in the business. That's Innovative Garage Flooring. Commercial, industrial, residential. They've been doing floors for over 30 years, one of the largest selections of product lines and floor systems. They know their stuff. They polish concrete as well as install as resin systems. Showroom is available in Blaine, so you can take a sneak peek at what you're looking for. And not only do they install any floor system, they do it all with the price match guarantee, so you can't lose. Your garage should be revered, and they do revere garage floors at innovativegaragebflooring.com, 763-291-0110. As I look at myself on TV here, and these guys are redoing the floor. Go with the pros. Innovative Garage Flooring. Just get stuff.
Yeah.
John, you're funny.
The earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
North American Banking Company. Let me hit that graphic for my friends at nabco.com. Hey, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. It's banking done differently at North American Banking Company. And right now, spring is here. So if you've got that big project or expense coming up, why not put your home's equity to work? A home equity line of credit from North American Banking Company is going to give you the flexibility and access to funds when you need them. Whether it's a home project or at the cabin, an unexpected expense, or something else, their experts make it easy. And they have 6 fantastic and beautiful Twin Cities locations to serve you, your family, and your business. Whether it's Maple Grove, Shoreview, Woodbury, Hastings, 50th and France, or Roseville, they offer all of the services as the other big national banks. Doesn't matter if you're looking to buy a home, finance a new home renovation project, or perhaps get that car that you've been dreaming about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to help you out. They offer the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but the difference is you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. So check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. Joe?
I have some emails I want to catch up on while we're waiting for Patrick. We have an AG in Keith Ellison who is apparently in cahoots with widespread fraud, and the standard media doesn't say a peep. Astonishing. He read that article in his email, but thanks for having Bill on the pod. The Mink was going to suggest you comment on it, but he correctly figured you would address it. This is the guy who calls himself the Mink. Also, the Mink has to agree with you and Kenny on The Great Gatsby. The Mink did a college paper on this book for part of a college class. At the end of the paper, he gave a short editorial review of the story, not a good one. He doesn't recall a grade for the paper, but he received a giant A+ for the review and a C-me, signed the Mink, the Pelican, and the Muskrat.
I believe
to me and Kenny, I guess.
I believe what your direct quote was, F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Buffalo Trace, I mentioned that was destroyed by flooding.
Yeah.
Not completely, right?
Well, yes. Hail the Flashlight King.
Hail you!
I heard your notice of the flooding of the Buffalo Trace distillery. I, along with another 15 Boy Scout leaders from around the country, visited that distillery along with another 10 or 11 2 weeks ago. While at Buffalo Trace, our guide commented that the distillery has been flooded several times over the years and that there is a well-rehearsed plan when waters begin to arrive. We are certainly glad that our trip was not affected by the flooding because we booked it last October. Buffalo Trace produces such brands as Buffalo Trace, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, Sazerac, and Pappy's, among others. And he sent me a picture of a bar in Lowville, with over 2,300 bottles of bourbon and American whiskeys on the shelves. Their most expensive is a 1-ounce pour that runs $1,200. But he didn't give me the brand name.
I bet that's
Scott Willery.
Wasn't it Pappy's?
I'm not sure.
Pappy's is that big, expensive one that's impossible to get. Why haven't I let it tour to the Kentucky Bourbon Hole or whatever?
Remember, I was talking about how did it come up? The Security Hardware Distributors Association.
Because of the key manufacturer story.
Yeah,
I have a comment for you when you're done with that
All
email.
right, well, I got a note from Rob Justin, who writes, Joe, my name is Rob Justin, former president of Security Hardware Distributors Association.
What?
I heard you talking about Minnesota outlawing key blanks on the podcast. I also heard how much fun you thought the members of the SHDA would be to hang out with. Well, lucky for you, we have our national convention coming up at the end of April, and I would like to formally invite you to Arizona for that conference.
I'm seeing GL Road Trip.
Thanks for the shout-out as a longtime listener and fan. I remember back to when my dad would have Garage Logic on during the long road trips for baseball and hockey tournaments. If you need someone to give you more details on the key blank ban, I would be happy to help. Let's go Fighting Stogies. Rob, I got invited to the big to-do.
Hand me that email when you're done.
I'm not going to Arizona for this.
I'm not saying you.
Well, what do you want it
initial
for?
no.
I'm gonna get
There's
in
the
touch.
initial no.
Thanks, Rob. I mean, I said that unkindly. It's not that I wouldn't want to go. I just don't think it would be
You need to
Nice
make that
backpedal.
drive.
feasible.
want-
I'm not driving to
Yeah,
Arizona for a hardware store convention.
Nice backpedal on that one.
What? That's GL right there.
It's
Road
the
trip.
end of April. It's coming up.
So we got time to plan.
Hey, if you want feedback, I just got a text right after we were coming back from the break from a certain person I've been very close to for the last 40 years. Are you all napping? Holy S, that was way too long.
Well,
Our break.
What?
Our break.
we were on break a long time. I noticed that too.
Well, because I was waiting for Pat, and he didn't answer the
Well,
phone.
what is the story with Pat?
I tried calling
I
again.
don't
Well,
know.
have you tried
He was
again?
adopted, and then his dad was.
So on my show with
know
a
by
certain
now.
hardware store employee, I brought up the key fob story.
Oh, then you should have that.
That's actually why I wanted to
Here you
get
go.
in touch with that.
Here you go.
So I talked to Mike about this yesterday, and he had a great response to this. He is 100% in favor of them banning keys, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because now everybody's going to have to go buy more expensive stuff at a store to upgrade
right.
their lives.
Fobs?
Okay.
Yeah,
stop.
everything.
Say, Jordy, as only he can, found a story that reflects on his own life. We have a mom in Missouri. She's been arrested.
Oh, no.
She traded one of her foster children for a monkey.
Whoa. Whoa.
Can do that?
Yeah, her name is Brenda
Marketplace.
Deutsch. She's 70 years old, and the sheriffs found several exotic primates at her home in Missouri and are investigating reports of 2 mammals arriving after Deutsch arranged for them to be swapped for children under her care.
Jeez.
And Jordy notes that his parents traded him for a monkey, and his sister always insisted it was a fair deal. So it was a fair deal. That's not funny to trade a kid for a monkey, is it?
It's really not.
How do you start that negotiation?
The mom became frustrated with the child and asked her friend in Texas if she would take the child. And that point, the friend said, "Well, I'll send you a monkey."
Wow.
And
And then the word got out.
So
Did you
Life is
open
not
the
what-
picture, Joe, and look at Miss Deutsch?
I have the picture of her here.
Yeah,
she looks
she's
like
got
someone
a-
who would trade a monkey for a kid.
She's a man, baby.
Yeah, that's not a good looking deal.
Was this a situation where the kid might end up being better off not being with this crazy lunatic?
I don't
We
know.
liked bananas.
No, I don't know. You have to root for the kid, but the kid's going from a home where he was traded for a monkey to a woman who would accept him for a monkey.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
That's a good point.
That's down there, right? The belly of the snake, huh? Yeah. That's pretty low.
Oh, poop. She's accused of hitting this child. And,
Oh, well, let's pray then. Let's pray for that child.
I don't know what to think with people.
The monkey's like, that's all I was worth?
No
Was that-
answer.
was
man.
it like?
Something
No,
similar.
monkeys don't know how to say like.
But you just did. Sports time for Pat with
Here
Pat
it is.
Royce.
It's going to voicemail
Did you text him?
several times.
And did
Hey,
you get
well,
a response?
While you're doing, seriously, well, give me an update on the Masters.
Okay, Justin Rose. Boy, it'd be fun if he could hang on. I can't believe he could. Well, I guess I could believe
I'm
he
realizing that I don't know a lot of the golf players anymore.
could. The golf players.
Oh, like the. I used to be able to name 30. Now I could maybe name 5.
Justin Rose is leading at 8 under through the 17th. Bryson DeChambeau is 1 shot behind through the 12th. Sung J. M. is in 3rd place at 2 behind, and Matt McCarty is tied for 4th at 4 under, along with McIlroy, who collapsed yesterday and has now fought his way back to be 3 shots off the lead. He's through hole number 13. So it's
Who was the guy that got caught racing through the cops and they made a big controversy of it?
Scotty Scheffler. He is 4 back at 4 under. He's only through the first hole today. I would expect you'll see.
Better
You will
numbers.
hear more from him.
Okay.
Yeah. Tommy Fleetwood's at 3 under. Tommy Fleetwood, I don't think will ever win a major. I don't say that because I don't like him. I just don't see it.
How about Watson and Stadler? Where do they?
That's a long time ago, Matt. They're not a factor.
What was
And
his name,
everyone
the
I
Walrus?
picked in my pool has me dead last in the pool I'm in.
And that is your list of golf players.
Those are some of the players in the tournament, yeah.
Hey, Pat, what are you doing here?
I apologize for Pat not being... not.
Maybe he's caught up in all the Masters drama.
Or I am just laying on the couch sleeping.
South Dakota is one of the most business-friendly states in the country, and there's no better place to settle down and take advantage of those incentives than Sioux Falls, South Dakota's largest city, more than 290,000, with low business costs and a great high quality of life. We're showing a video now that shows a lot of building underway. There's no state, corporate, or personal income tax, no inheritance tax, no limits to what your business can achieve. If you're thinking of starting a new business, expanding your current business, moving a portion of your business, you might want to check out SiouxFallsDevelopment.com. It's Sioux Falls is the most popular city to move to, according to Top10.com. 50 best places to live for families, according to Fortune. One of the best places to raise a family, according to Wallet Hub. And a great, great city for Gen Z workers. Entrepreneurs, by the way, are welcome. You can find out much more at one word, SiouxFallsDevelopment.com.
Thank God today is Friday. TGTI Friday. It's the scramble.
You darn right it is. And the scramble on Garage Logic is brought to us by our friends at ProfessionalTurf.com. Joe?
What?
How are you
What?
doing?
Do you have something that you would like to announce?
Maybe.
Oh,
Just trying to adjust this.
okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
It's time once again to recognize one of our loyal Gumption County residents as GLer of the Week, brought to you by Masters Maples. And isn't that interesting that this is Masters Weekend?
Yes.
And it's Masters Maples. Today we salute Ruth Kewich, a.k.a. Rocket's Red Glare. She was one of our first fireworks queens. She's from Edina. Thank you, Ruth, for your support of Garage Logic all these years, along with my warmest personal regards. You'll be getting a $50 gift box from Masters Maples on Masters Weekend. Listen every Friday as I, your mayor, salutes one town council member each and every week throughout 2025 as GLer of the Week. If you're not a town council member, go to GarageLogic.com and join today for your chance to be a GLer of the Week. Thanks, Rocket's Red Glare. I never knew her name was Ruth Kewich.
I didn't know.
I only knew her as the Rocket.
Right.
And she wins the Masters.
You know who's not eligible?
Who?
Royce.
Yeah. Finally wake up. Hey.
I had my airplane mode on. I forgot that, which means it doesn't ring. I'm just sitting there saying, "Why aren't they calling me?" And then I said, "Oh, wait, I had my airplane."
Did you get my note?
No, I didn't get your note.
Wait until you
Is there a
do.
way you can read it silently while you're on the air with us?
Does the note include some criticism of his longtime partner?
Yes, it does.
He said he was very direct.
With love.
I can give you an update on the golf if you want. Rory, 5 under, making quite a comeback here.
Yes, he is. He
And,
fell apart yesterday, something fierce.
Well, I saw they slowed that green up today because it's if it gets rolling 1 mile an hour, it's going to go in the water there.
Was that 13 or 15?
That's 15.
15.
And
yeah.
that Cantley, did you see Cantley? He rolled 2 of them in there. He wasn't happy. I think under his breath, he might have said the same thing you were saying about me. Or
I think he did.
about that. I think it started with an M too. But anyway, they apparently went out and put water on everything today to slow it down because the boys were whining, I guess.
Well, Justin Rose isn't doing anything, but he's hanging in the lead.
Yeah, he was shot 71, so he's still. Bluto's chasing him, but Bluto got.
I like Bluto. I've decided I like him.
I can't stand him.
Yeah, I know.
It takes 12 minutes to hit a shot. God almighty. How about dusting off the line for bugs and stuff for like 12 seconds?
Yeah, but they're all doing that. I don't understand. I thought that would be a violation of some rule.
Yeah, I don't think you can. What are they getting rid of? Like seeds or something?
Yeah, just imaginary things that they see.
Yeah, it's unreal. But supposed to blow this afternoon, so maybe that'll do them. But
I was saying to the boys off the air, I think it was off the air, I said, I wonder if the Masters, maybe I said it on the air, has prohibited any mention of the horrific storm damage that course obviously suffered. Because you watched it, this is not like watching it from years past. There are terrible gaps in the pines. There's an absence of foliage is very significant. They got hit hard in that storm from earlier this year.
Well, I think it was an offset of the hurricane, right?
Yes.
The hurricane just kept coming up and came through. And is that the same one that they got hit by the one that ended up flooding out North Carolina?
Yes, and you can really tell the difference. It's pretty ugly at times, and I bet they don't want to mention because they want to maintain that beauty and grace and all that
it's
stuff.
A shrine.
It's a shrine.
If I hear the boys tell me it's a shrine once more, I'll go crazy. But because let's face it, to keep the scores down they have to trick up the green something fierce. They get them. They get them like going 14 on top of cliffs and stuff. It's a little. They don't want you making those 30-foot putts.
Or on 15, shave that hill that takes your ball right into the lake.
Yes, that's right. But Rory, a nice comeback. So I root for him. I don't know. I root against Bluto, but I root for him. I don't know why that is. So.
I figured DeChambeau, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, but of all the live players, I think DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka probably still care about playing golf.
But Brooks really only cares about the majors. You know?
Okay, majors, yeah.
Yeah, Brooks cares about the majors. Although I don't think he's doing anything here today. But Victor Hovland, my guy Victor Hovland's up there again. So,
he's 4 under through 14.
Yeah, he's playing.
I accidentally stumbled upon the live a while back. Explain how the graphics are working. I could not figure out what does the scores mean.
I couldn't tell you because I've never watched or understood live or
well,
cared
they
to.
have. Here's what the idiots have. They have teams, but they just give them names like the Gorillas against somebody. I mean, it's not like the Scotsman versus the stuff that they divide them up into 13 teams. They have a team championship, I think, for betting purposes. I think, like in Europe or something, they can get people to bet on some of these teams. But they have the different teams, and there's no rhyme or reason to who's on the teams. So it's just kind of silly. It's kind of silly. So I know you're quite a basketball expert, Joe. I was having this thought last night.
I've studied the game, yeah.
So Tuesday night, our boys are playing the Bucks, and they have a nice little 24-point lead. Mm-hmm. And then they get outscored 34-3 in the fourth quarter and lose. And now, last night in Memphis, they get 52 points in the third quarter, the most points in a quarter any NBA team scored all season. Mm-hmm. What's the difference here?
Why can't they do that every quarter?
Why don't they do that every quarter? Exactly.
They were 18 out of 21 from the field, as opposed to 0 for like 30 the 2 nights earlier.
Pat, I did love your text because you no longer tweet, and you just said, this would be a bad loss.
This would be when it was down to 10 with 4 minutes left. Nobody who saw the game on Tuesday couldn't be saying, are you kidding me?
I had a 10-year-old in my presence, and he said, are they really going to blow this again? And I said, they might, buddy.
I don't know. That's one of the things that irritates me about the game. It makes no sense to me.
Here's my favorite thing about the NBA this week, though, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Ja Morant, who's nuts, okay, but a very good player, gets fined $75,000 for shooting a gun when he makes a three-pointer, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They fine him because it's a violent. Now he is mimicking throwing a hand grenade and then covering up his ears, but we're not fining him for that. So apparently,
does he pull the pin? Can you see him pulling the pin?
I think he just tossed it. I don't know if he tossed the hand grenade and covers up his ears. If it's $75,000 for shooting one shell out of a gun, it's got to be $200,000 for a hand grenade.
Oh yeah, that'd be straight out of Joe Souchere fine book.
Well, what if you're right? I mean, what if he went to pretending he was an airplane dropping a bomb? That's $500,000
easily.
It could be. I don't know. I said, "What's he doing?" And then they said, "It's a hand grenade," and he covers up his ears after he throws it, but they haven't done anything about it.
So in the commissioner's office, Pat, do they have almost like an encyclopedia with descriptions?
No,
a chart. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. How about like making a three and then like pretend like you're running into a room with a knife and stabbing people or something?
Because what you were going to find...
What's wrong with these idiots? Just shoot the ball, get happy, and run down to the other end. We don't need to see that stupidity. I'm so damn happy the Vikings got rid of that Cam Bynum. I can't stand it because he's the guy that spent 80% of his time worrying about what they were going to do in the end zone for a skit when they intercepted a pass.
A skit.
Instead of just covering the guy he's covering. Just cover the guy.
What skit are we running this time?
40 left. Did whole dances and everybody was, we were so happy and we were so delighted. Meanwhile, they go play the Rams and he doesn't cover anybody. They picked on him the whole game.
Did you see what he ended up getting from Indianapolis, by the way?
Did you get a good deal?
$65 million for him.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding
How
you.
much guaranteed?
That I don't remember.
Yeah,
That's the only number you need to know in the NFL.
Yeah, right. NFL, that's right. That is right.
Pat, we haven't talked since our hockey team barely beat the lowly Sharks. And
How'd you like our sentimental tribute to the Flower? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see well, his kids came out in the beginning, right? That's all I saw.
No, but the Flower gives up. You're going to give it. We got to give the Flower a chance to play one more home game. He gives up 7.
Yep.
What? Is there any thought that perhaps Flower, it was fun after 2 periods, but you're getting a hook? The Flower led us to victory with a 77% save percentage.
Well, Eck had 4 goals. I think Kami had 3.
They were 2. He had 2.
2, but the winner was the fastest shot in human history. He has got the fastest shot in the league.
Yeah. But it was such an exciting night. And I mean, really, I wasn't there, but watching, Eck was even this phlegmatic Finlander, Swede, was even going nuts, man. He was jumping around and going crazy. It do make a difference having those 2 guys. Wow.
Holy mackerel. It changes everything. Now they got to play, I think they're in Vancouver tonight or Calgary, but they're going to
Vancouver's done. Calgary's still got an outside chance, but they're good now. They're fine. And they've actually they're ahead of the Blues now. So who would you rather play, Winnipeg or Vegas?
That's not
Winnipeg because of the rivalry, right? Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, but Winnipeg is going to kill you.
Well, so is
Winnipeg
Vegas.
Must be good. I mean, they just beat the hell. They beat somebody who's still playing for the playoffs 4-0 last night.
If you want to look at it technically, and you want to have a run to the Cup, then you want to play Winnipeg because you want to conserve flight time. You want to conserve energy.
That's a good thought. Yeah.
So play Winnipeg, beat Winnipeg, and then try to play somebody else next to you.
What? In Vegas, you get these.
I don't trust them in Vegas. I think their minds would wander.
I was just going to say, you got these young men. They're excited. They got energy They got energy, and then they just happen to go down the lobby, and I don't know. It doesn't. I think the opportunities for distractions are much higher in Vegas than they are.
That was one of your greatest tirades in the radio history, Patrick, when you said, those out-of-shape hookers ought to get in shape for when those Packer fans come to town.
Packer fan, when they got it, you're a 38-year-old hooker, you better start doing your exercise.
You better start running marathons.
You're going to be, you're going to have 6 appointments a day.
You got big paydays coming up, honey. So you've got to get in shape.
You get up to 50, 52, the Packer fans are fine. They're fine. Because they want, they want kind of a discount anyway.
No, I don't want them to play Vegas just for that reason. There are too many. They're just idle hands are the devil's workshop.
I'm sure, though, the way the hockey guys do it, they'll have like 20 miles out of town some damn place. So they can't, by the way, I did talk to Gus about his baby and the new baby and whether he was changing diapers, because remember how Jock used to get very upset that he didn't want his players in the playoffs. He put them in a hotel because he was afraid he'd be home changing diapers and getting groceries.
Well, who was the hot goalie Jock had? We had a great. He lived in Highland. Rolly the goalie.
Rolly,
yeah.
Yeah. Did he have babies?
I think he did.
Doc did not like players who had babies.
Don't change the baby.
Well, no, but Roley's claim to fame is he moves in on Wellesley Avenue to a brick house, and there's a barbecue going on the next door neighbors.
He jumped the fence.
He jumped the fence, sits down, and starts talking to him. I'm the new neighbor. Didn't say anybody who he was. And some guy says, "What do you do for a living?" He says, "I'm a goaltender." He says, "Where?" "Well, for the Wild." Are you Dwayne Rollison?
That was Roley during the playoffs.
Are you kidding? I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
They're just sitting drinking beers, and he's
That's
the new guy.
fantastic.
Just think if you were grilling and Obi was your neighbor.
Oh, sweet
yeah, light the
Jesus.
yard on fire.
What do you been doing? What do you do? I break Wayne Jesse's record. Give me another drink.
Is he still partying, you think?
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah. They're out in the first round, Washington. They're out in the first round.
You know who he reminds me of with his celebrating? Darren Clark. I think Clarkie won the Open and celebrated for about 5 years.
God, that's right. Hasn't been seen or heard from.
No.
Of course.
You know, it's been making the rounds, but on social media. But the ESPN commercial with Ovechkin late night going through the file cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy comes in and says, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" He says, "Oh, just some late night filing." They're like, "What are you, a Russian spy?" And then he leaves, and then the goaltender from Russia takes the ceiling tile out, and then in Russian they say, "That was very close." And then he pulls it up the ceiling. It's
I have
hilarious.
not seen that one.
I'll pull it up for you.
Are we in for a long baseball summer?
Oh, boy.
Well, I don't think the game is going to last that long when you average 2 runs a game. But I'll say that it's they're not very good. They can't hit. But it's a little early to give up, I guess.
I'm not giving up. I'm just so far disappointed.
Yeah, but you know, once Royce Lewis comes back in about 8 weeks, I think the lineup will be all right.
Oh yeah.
Well, look how long it took.
Because we can remember how Royce led us down the stretch last year, right?
That's true.
Was he 1 for 36?
Something like that.
Are you going to be at the yard tonight?
I got basketball tonight. I got the Timberwolves, fresh from their greatest victory of the year, no doubt will take a big puke against the Brooklyn Nets, who aren't trying even to win, because you know damn well they'll be down 12 in the first quarter. You know that, because they're the craziest team ever. So.
I'll talk to you Monday in person.
All right. See ya.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Only because?
Did I do Maples Masters? Yes, we did.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Masters Maples. Yeah, Rockets Red Glare one.
Yep.
Yeah. Only because, boy, we didn't do bleep on this day. We didn't do a damn thing. Only because they come to us all the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga Province, South Africa, from the Traveling Lymans. Was on this day.
April 11th today.
This is it. 1680. Father Louis Hennepin, exploring the Mississippi River north from Illinois by canoe, was captured by a group of Dakota. During his captivity, he saw Oamni Yamni, which he called the Falls of Anthony for his patron saint. On July 25th, Daniel Graysalon, the Sieur de Luth, arranged for Hennepin's release. That's it.
It's a long way in a canoe.
Wait a minute. April 11th, for 345 years, we haven't done a damn thing?
That's
Holy
right.
cow.
That's right. April 11th.
Oh, we were watching the Masters, John.
Oh, that's right.
And I have sports disappointment on this day.
April 11th.
That's right. On this day in 1975, Gord Gallant and Harry Neal got into a fight. So that means a player was fighting with his coach.
Huh.
On this day,
April 11th.
In 1982, the North Stars lost to the Blackhawks in the division semis, 3-1. And on this day,
on April 11th,
in 1989, the North Stars lost to the Blues in the division semis, 4-1.
I don't remember that series.
And this year it'll be the Winnipegs.
Or the King. No, what are they called? The Knight.
The Golden Knight.
The Knight.
That's it. One lousy thing on this day in
Here
history.
comes the night.
So thank you, GLers. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hey, you have plans?
You want to hear about them?
No.
Oh, okay. Hey, do us a favor and hit the subscribe button right there on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, and you can see the show each and every single day starting right around noon. You can also see full segments, video shorts, behind-the-scenes footage in some cases, but it's all there for you on the Garage Logic YouTube channel. And you can follow us on all of our social media channels, which includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sign up for the Daily Logician. That's that email that comes right to your inbox each and every single day, and it includes the most recent episode of the podcast. And while supplies last, go get yourself a Garage Logic flag, and you can find it all online at the website, which is, of course, garagelogic.com.